My boyfriend moved in temporarily, and now things are disappearing and reappearing. Am I losing it? So my boyfriend of 5 months moved in with me 3 weeks ago. His apartment had severe damp issues and needed renovations, so since my roommate is currently spending some time abroad, I told him he could stay at my place for about 4 to 6 weeks. By then, his place should be ready for him to move back in. At first, living together was great. We've had some issues with jealousy in the past, mainly because we often go out separately about once a week. But being in the same space seemed to help ease his insecurities. But now, there's a new problem, and it's honestly driving me insane. This might sound petty at first, but hear me out. Ever since he moved in, things have been disappearing, and then reappearing a day later in the exact same place. Not like, oh, I misplaced my keys and found them somewhere random. No, I mean, I'll look for something in a specific spot where I know I left it, and it's just gone. Then the next day, it's right there, like nothing happened. At first, I thought I was just being forgetful, but then it started happening more often, with documents, small household items, even food. For example, I usually bring a chocolate bar to work every morning, so I keep a pack of them in the cupboard. A few days after he moved in, I woke up and all the chocolate was gone. Confused, I asked him about it, and he swore he had no idea what I was talking about. I figured maybe I had eaten them and just forgotten, except when I got home that evening, the entire pack was back in the cupboard. I asked him again, and he just shrugged, saying, maybe you just didn't see them this morning. But it was a full 12-pack of chocolate bars. How could I not see that? At first I thought it was some kind of weird joke, but he gets angry whenever I bring it up. And it's not just my stuff. It's things I borrow from friends, which means I sometimes can't return them on time. Worse, some of the missing items are important documents I need on specific days. I have no explanation for this. I know I'm not crazy, but every time I bring it up, he insists I'm making things up just to cause drama. Why would I do that? I don't understand what's happening. Does anyone have any ideas? Relevant comments. He's gaslighting you. You need to run. Someone else mentioned that term too. I looked it up, but I don't really get why someone would do this. What's the goal? The goal is to make you doubt your own sanity so he can control the situation. If he keeps making you question reality, he can always be right, and you'll be too unsure of yourself to argue back. Commenter 3. Expanding on that, it's a form of manipulation that can lead to an abusive relationship. By making you feel mentally unstable, he increases his control over you. Over time, this can make victims feel dependent on their abuser, often making it harder to leave, especially if they become financially or emotionally trapped. You should seriously ask yourself, why would someone who cares about you want to make you feel insane? What motive does he have for moving your things and putting them back? Ope's response. I don't know. This sounds really messed up. He's a nice guy, and I don't know how to explain it, but he's not exactly the most academic person. This sounds like some deep psychological manipulation, and I just don't know if he's capable of something like that. You think he's a nice guy because his past actions led you to believe that. But how well do you really know him? How long did you know him before you started dating? Do you have mutual friends? Have you ever spoken to any of his exes? Does he have a job, or is he home all day? P's response. We met at a mutual friend's party about 2 months before we started dating. I had just gotten out of another relationship and wasn't looking for anything serious, but he was really romantic. Lots of gifts, letters, and gestures I'd never experienced before. After a month of dating, he wanted a serious relationship pretty quickly, and at some point, I figured, why not? He works at a gym, but only about 6 hours a day. He usually leaves about 2 hours after I do and gets home 1 to 2 hours before me. Update, 9 days later. First of all, thank you all so much for your advice, support, and concern. I've received multiple DMs asking if I was okay, and I really appreciate it. So back to my situation. After reading through all your comments and researching gaslighting, I was really freaked out. A lot of you pointed out other red flags in my relationship, and once I started thinking about it, more and more things came to mind that should have alarmed me way earlier. Our whole relationship felt rushed from the beginning. I didn't even want to date, but he completely overwhelmed me with romantic gifts, gestures, date ideas, and endless texts until I finally gave in. He got upset when I didn't want to say I love you right away, when I didn't want him to meet my family immediately, and even when I insisted on using a condom. You don't trust me. When I refused to book an expensive vacation with him, he sulked. He was very jealous. He didn't want me going out without him, even though he went out with his friends all the time. And then there were the other things, the things I ignored at the time because I kept making excuses for him. He made me cancel plans to spend time with him, only to stand me up. He logged into my Facebook without asking and changed my relationship status to in a relationship a day after we started dating. He told me it was a surprise. I actually worried about it back then, but I convinced myself he was just bad at surprises. And then one of you pointed something out that really shook me. Every single item that had gone missing was somehow related to me leaving the house or meeting other people. A gift for my friend? Gone. The key to my parents' house? Gone. A borrowed USB stick? Gone. Documents for an application to study abroad? Gone. We had a huge fight over that because he didn't want me to go. That was when I decided I needed proof. I ordered a nanny cam. Unfortunately, shipping took 4 days. But honestly, after just one more day with him, I already knew I couldn't do this anymore. I wanted him out as soon as possible and with as little drama as possible. So I lied. I told him that my roommate had gotten a really exciting job offer and was cutting her vacation short. She'd be back in a week, so he had to move out. He got angry, but I just told him there was nothing I could do. Some of you suggested I tell him his landlord should be responsible for helping him find a place to stay, so I did. I told him to call his landlord the next day. He told me later that he had spoken to his landlord and could move back into his apartment by the following weekend. Apparently, the renovations hadn't taken as long as planned. At this point, I'm not even convinced his apartment ever had damp walls to begin with. Then, get this, that same night, he asked me if I wanted to move in with him. It worked so well, and you don't even like your roommate anyway. I never even said that. I smiled and said, "Sure, I'll move in with you in June." He was thrilled. While waiting for the nanny cam to arrive, I kept my head down, but there was one more incident. I had ordered a book for my dad and told my boyfriend I'd be bringing it to him the next day. By morning, the book was gone. I didn't say a word about it. But as I was leaving, he asked me, "Did you take the book with you?" Why the hell would he ask that if he didn't expect a reaction? I just looked at him and said, "What book?" He hesitated. "The book you were going to bring your dad?" I shrugged. "I don't know what you're talking about." That evening, the book was right back on my desk. I ignored it again. A couple of hours later, he casually walked by and said, "Oh, that's the book I was talking about." I just looked at him and said, "Oh, that book." He was pissed for the rest of the night. 2 days later, the nanny cam finally arrived. I set it up while he was at the gym and once again placed a letter I needed for work right on my desk. A few hours later, the letter was gone, and the next day, I checked the footage and I saw exactly what I already knew. 7:36 a.m., he took the letter while passing my desk, put it in his gym bag, and then put it back a few hours later. As soon as I saw the evidence, I decided against confronting him. To be honest, I was scared of his reaction, and I had already made up my mind to break it off as soon as possible. The camera didn't tell me his motive, and I figured he probably wouldn't tell me even if I asked. Still, it frustrated me that I'd probably never know why he did it. On the last evening before he moved back to his newly renovated apartment, I told him I wanted to watch an old movie called Gaslight. Thanks for the tip, everyone. It really is a great movie. He sat with me through the whole film, but was quieter than usual. I kept commenting on how unrealistic it was, how obviously insane the husband was, and how ridiculous the whole situation seemed. I expected some kind of reaction from him, but he just sat there, looking nervous. Sunday came, and he moved all his stuff back to his apartment. My brother had arranged for someone to come and change the locks. As soon as that was done, I sent my boyfriend a text telling him it was over. I made it clear I had no interest in being contacted again, Our breakup was final, and it was honestly just sad that he had to hide my things to keep the relationship interesting. Since then, he's been calling me nonstop, but I haven't picked up, and I won't. I know this isn't the most dramatic or heroic ending. I could have confronted him with the video evidence, but instead, I broke up over text like a coward. But the truth is, I didn't want a dramatic fight. I just wanted it to be over as quickly and smoothly as possible. If I've learned anything from this, it's not to rush into a relationship. For the past 7 years, I've jumped from one long-term relationship to the next, and I think it's time to take a break. For now, I'm staying at my brother's for a couple of weeks, and I should probably change my phone number. I wish I could tell you why he did it. Maybe it was kleptomania? Maybe it was some twisted prank? Or maybe he just messed with my things because something about me frustrated him. I'll probably never know. In all the texts he sent me, he just keeps saying he doesn't know what I'm talking about, that he never took my things. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Breaking up with this psycho over text wasn't cowardly at all. You did all the smart things. You got proof on video, got him out of the house, changed the locks, and then broke up with him. If anything, this is probably one of the smartest breakups I've ever seen. OP's response, thank you for saying this. I was so freaked out, I just wanted him to leave quietly. Commenter 2. You said something really wise near the end of your post about not rushing into relationships and spending some time by yourself. I learned that lesson too. After jumping from one relationship to another, I finally took a break, and it made me a much happier and calmer person. I stopped looking for someone just to be with, and instead only spent time with people who truly made me happy. It changed everything. OP's response. Exactly. I had a long talk with my brother and his wife, and they reluctantly told me that most, if not all, of my ex-boyfriends were douches. They always felt like they held me back. So yeah, I guess it's really for the best to focus on myself for a while. Months later, final update. I'll try to keep this short. Unfortunately, my last update was locked, so I couldn't respond to as many comments as I would have liked. Over the past few weeks, I've gotten messages asking if I'm okay, or even if I'm still alive, so I figured I owed you all one final update. I wish I could tell you everything went smoothly after the breakup, but that would be a lie. I never answered any of my ex's calls, never responded to his countless messages, but I read most of them. At first, he was desperate, pleading, I love you. I miss you so much. I don't know what you think I did, but I swear I didn't do anything wrong. Whoever told you that is lying. Please, just give me another chance. Then, after 4 days, the messages changed. You're such a whiny butch. No wonder you can't hold a relationship. I hate you, and there's no second chance for us, no matter how much you wish for it. For your own sake, pray you never run into me again. I blocked his number that same week, but the bad feeling in my gut only grew stronger. Then, the strange things started happening. Friends called me, confused, asking if I was okay. Apparently, they'd all been told I broke up with him because I needed to focus on my mental health. Twice, I arrived at work only to find my coworkers surprised to see me, because someone had called in sick on my behalf, claiming to be my doctor. Then, my mom messaged me. My ex, whom she had never met, had reached out to her on Facebook. He pretended to be a concerned friend, asking about my well-being after my supposed latest breakdown. Some of it was easy to clear up, especially with my family. But at work, not so much. After 3 weeks at my brother's house, I decided to move back into my apartment. That was a mistake. On my second evening back, I saw him, just standing across the street, watching. At first, I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence, but then I saw him again, and again, always at a distance, always just watching. A week later, my doorbell started ringing at 3 a.m. It happened 5 nights in a row. 3 times, I came home to find small pieces of paper in front of my door, each with a single hand-drawn flame. That was the final straw. Somehow, he had managed to get into the building. I barely slept, barely ate. I started dreading leaving the apartment altogether. And then, one day, I realized I was trapped. So, I left. I packed my things and moved back in with my brother and his family. My roommate, who's currently abroad, was furious when she found out I had changed the locks without telling her. even more furious when I told her I was moving out permanently. And to be fair, I probably should have involved her more in the process. I had gotten permission from her parents, who own the apartment, but I never spoke to her about it. Still, I regret ever letting my ex stay in that apartment in the first place. I also went to the police to get a restraining order. I was not prepared for how difficult that process would be. Apparently, it wasn't enough to prove he was harassing me. I had to prove he was actively threatening my safety. But after long hours, endless paperwork, and a lot of patience from my sister-in-law, I finally got one. Now for the good news. I got approved for my semester abroad. I'll be leaving in August, traveling a bit before settling in. I've already joined a Facebook group for other exchange students, and it seems like I won't be alone. When I come back, I'll be looking for a small apartment on my own. And to all of you, thank you. When I made my first post here, I had no idea what was really going on. I just had this nagging feeling that something was off. You guys opened my eyes. You saved me from a very, very abusive relationship. And every single day, I'm grateful I got out in time.